When I decided to move to Germany in 2001, I did a ton of research about the culture, the language, laws, standards of living, education, just researched everything. Or so I thought. You see, in 2001, when I made the decision to just up and leave Pennsylvania, leave behind my friends and family and all I've known for the first 30 years of my life, I was following my heart like a love-struck fool. And one thing I definitely wasn't thinking of was divorce. Or as the Germans say, Scheidung. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. I was sitting here thinking about it, and really, right off the top of my head, came up with 5 things that kind of amazed me when I unfortunately did go through a divorce here in Germany. You know, this isn't the happiest and nicest of topics, and some of these memories are ones I would just much rather leave there in the past. So I had to dig into my binder. Do you know what this is? This is the German Bible. If you're moving to Germany, you better get real used to these because you're going to need lots of them and you're going to fill them and collect lots of paperwork. This habit of having these binders and saving my paperwork in it is actually one of the good habits, one of the good things I took from my ex-husband. His Ducati rain jacket would be another good thing I got from him. Shh. For me, going over the details again and remembering everything I went through in those years. Yeah, that's right. I said years. If you're an American that marries a German and ends up deciding it's time for a divorce, you're going to be surprised how long it takes. What I'm saying is, for a divorce in Germany, you will need patience. But really looking back and looking through all the details, I'm really impressed with how the whole process, long as it takes, is really about balance. But yeah, I'll tell you, going back through my paperwork recently to get my facts straight on the things I wish to speak about today, I was really just reminded of what a long process it really was. I mean, just to give you some sort of a timeline, I got married in the summer of 2001. And without looking at paperwork, if I just go on my rough memory and leave out all of the ugly details, I would say that it was becoming really clear to me that this marriage had no more chance within the first 3 to 5 years. And as I went through my paperwork, I found the oldest letter I could find where I was communicating with my lawyer was in 2008. And according to my paperwork here, my divorce was final in 2010. Before we get into this, I just want to tell you, as a reward for suffering through my bitter ramblings about divorcing a German, at the end, I'll share with you 2 photos of that special day. I looked real different than I do now. Real quick, I just want to slip in a big shout out and a lot of love to my members who knew this video was coming because I've been giving them weekly member updates. Thanks again to my folks who have clicked that join button. You rule. But also, big thanks and much love to all of my returning viewers, especially my subscribers. I love you. I love your likes. I love your comments. Don't ever leave me. With all that said, let's get into these 5 things about divorce in Germany that really kind of amazed me. Number 1, 1 year long separation, or Trennungsjahr. So as an American in Germany who didn't think about getting a divorce when I came over here, I was really amazed, but not in a good way, when I learned that before the process to get divorced can even begin, both parties, man and wife, have to register and live at 2 completely separate addresses for 1 entire year. As a foreigner in Germany, this should not have come as a big surprise to me, considering that Everything you have to do with any government office here is gonna take forever and require a lot of paperwork. But nonetheless, naive me was quite surprised by this. And I have to say, it was really kind of frustrating in the beginning because I was already like sleeping on the couch for like a year. For me, when we finally started looking at this paperwork, this was well done to me. I just needed to do the paperwork. And the problem is, the apartments were not easy to find, and I wanted to stay where I was because I had a child in school there. But until I found a place, we couldn't begin the divorce process, which would take a while. 1 year long, registered at two separate addresses. Found that really amazing and horrifying in some ways because I thought that could be dangerous for some people in bad situations. And I did my research online recently and found out that there are circumstances in which people can get around this. I even read online that there's ways they can handle it if the people are not able to separate, for example, for financial reasons or what have you. But nonetheless, I found this very interesting because I think in America, both parties, they go and get their lawyers and they begin the process to file for divorce. They begin the battle. But number one was just the tip of the iceberg of things that would amaze me. Side note, German viewers, if I get anything wrong here, or you have some of those fun facts and more knowledge about what we're talking about here, please do leave me a comment. I love reading that stuff. And when I went through my divorce, it was a long time ago. Things could have changed, and I understand things maybe could be different by region to region. Just saying, looking forward to your comments as usual. Number 2, Unterhaltung. Support. Between doing a little bit of research on the internet and also just from thinking about personal stories I've known as well as what we see on TV and movies, divorce in America can be complicated. It can also be expensive and it varies from state to state. In some cases, it can become real costly battles. In some states in America, it seems pretty straight and simple. But America, you always got the option to grab a lawyer and make a stink about something, and then you have a long drawn out court case and lots of costs. But the topic of, I think they would call it in English, spousal support, support to be paid to a spouse in the occurrence of a divorce. As far as I know, it's like not just a given in America. It's definitely something that happens and gets brought up and argued for. But as far as I'm aware of, I don't think it's like a standard thing over there. So it really amazed me here when the man I was divorcing informed me that as I moved out into this new apartment so we could finally pursue the paperwork for a divorce, he was going to make monthly payments to me. And I was like, what now? And he explained to me that here in Germany, when you're in the Trennungsjahr, this 1 year separation, there needs to be a concentration on balance. So essentially, whoever is earning the most money, I guess like has the most stuff, they're gonna have to give up a little of that so that the other person stays living at the same standard of living that they both were. He had no problem with this. He informed me. I would have had no clue. And that really amazed me. Later, it is, just like everything else here in Germany, reviewed by lawyers and in the courts and such to make sure that it's a fair number. And of course, one can contest it. And I believe my lawyer had some debate about it. And we contested some stuff. Anyway, to me, it just seemed pretty amazing and also mature how that was handled. It seemed pretty clear to me, pretty fair, that whoever earns more, whoever has more, has to make sure that just right now, because of this separation, that other person doesn't immediately go into poverty. They have a right to stay at that same level until the courts can sort out all of this mess. I found that pretty amazing, Germany. I also find the word fun to say. Unterhaltung. just as amazing, but the way it was explained to me, I believe it also falls under this title of support, was the fact that I was told that in the future I would get a part of my ex husband. Remember, he was the bigger earner than I was in our jobs. But that in the future I would get a part of his retirement. This didn't really so much amaze me as baffle me. And I questioned it. Like my lawyer had to explain it to me twice, and I was just like I think I was looking at it again through like American eyes, and I was thinking, oh, I don't want to pursue this. I mean, by the time him and I retire, we're gonna have nothing to do with each other and have not seen each other. We're both gonna hopefully have moved on with our lives. And I didn't think, like, why would I have a right to that then? Kind of blew my mind. I didn't understand it. Still don't know if I 100% understand it, if I'm honest with you. Great was my lawyer getting sort of defensive with me and telling me, Du hast doch ein Recht auf das. You have a right to this. These Germans shoving their rights down my throat. Things like healthcare, assistance. Oh, Germany, you amaze me. Number 3. Only one lawyer needed? You know, when the German guy I'm divorcing is being kind and helping me navigate and understand this system that I don't have much a clue about, the legal system, you can't blame me for being a little bit skeptical. I mean, let's look at what a marriage really is. It's a contract, you know? We were in an agreement and we're breaking it now. I think at the very least to say, I don't think it's just me, but I think it's probably a little bit normal to be a little, mistrusting, skeptical, if you will. And I definitely was skeptical when he informed me to file this paperwork. He had already arranged a lawyer and was gonna begin the process. And I was all like, whoa, 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 slow down, buddy. I don't even have a lawyer. I don't even know I'm gonna pay for it. And this dude is like, no, here in Germany, it's very normal. We just need a lawyer. We file with him and he will handle the court costs and everything will be divided fairly. But skeptical Armstrong was quite skeptical. And I mean, this wasn't just my regular American paranoia. I had every reason to be skeptical and not trust this situation. I mean, seriously, who picks the same lawyer that has hit on your wife in the local Kneipe bar from time to time? Seriously? Ew? Creepy. So clearly trust issues were going from the marriage into the divorce. And I went and I found a really nice lawyer that I feel like helped me to the best he could through this difficult situation. But because I was skeptical and kind of amazed that I was being told most Germans, they get divorced with one lawyer. Like I said, the lawyer apparently handles the paperwork and filing it with the courts and making sure it gets done right. Because I was skeptical, I asked around. I asked around other German friends and coworkers and stuff I had. And they told me, yeah. That kind of amazed me. But I have trust issues. So take my amazement on that one for what it's worth. Number 4. Public assistance for divorce if you can't afford it? This was one of the things that really made it click in my head. I think what are we talking about? I was like 7, 8, 9 years here in Germany, and I was like, they have assistance for everything if you know what to ask for and you fill out the right forms. So as I mentioned in the last one, I went off and found my own lawyer because I wasn't feeling comfortable with the creeper that my ex had chosen. And if my memory serves me well, I believe it was around this time I was between jobs. I think I had a job that was like a contract job and the contract had ended. So I'm getting divorced, foreigner, unemployed, single mom. How the hell am I going to pay for a lawyer? How am I going to... I didn't even know what was coming at me in the way of costs. I was scared. Like, to say I was scared doesn't even explain it. I can't tell you, around this time were some of the hardest years of my life. I felt very alone and going through a lot of stuff, which is why I was really amazed when it was my lawyer that told me that I needed the next day to get up early, go to this specific government office, ask for this specific form. I think he sent me to another office to ask for another specific form, and he informed me the reason he was telling me this was so that he could get paid. And I feel like in America, with an American lawyer, none of that would have been any of his concern. If you watched my one video about growing up in gun culture and then moving to Germany, I tell a story in that video about going and seeing a lawyer. He began with, "Ms. Armstrong, you can't afford me." What I'm saying is, in America, the lawyer doesn't give a shit. And I mean, I guess they think they know that there isn't assistance for this. And I found myself with this German lawyer looking at me and informing me that there is public assistance for people in the situation that I'm in, and how to get it, where to go and get it, what magic words to use. That really amazed me, impressed me. Side note though, going through my paperwork again to just freshen up my brain with dates and costs and stuff, I still question if I did the paperwork right and everything, because I think in the end I paid somewhere around 2,000 euros. I paid with assistance. Divorce ain't cheap anywhere, I don't think. Nonetheless, that really amazed me. The fact that that assistance is there, and the fact that my lawyer, I felt like he was a human with a heart that told me how to get this help. And in the end, anything I did owe, I was allowed to make payments on. So it didn't hurt too much. Number 5. Simple and affordable name change after a divorce. Now, back when I lived in America, before I made the decision to move to Germany, what did I know about the legal system and courts? Well, what I knew was I wanted to avoid them and stay away from them, and they were scary and costly. But fast forward to moving to Germany, getting married, dipping in and going all over this culture, eventually ending up in a divorce. When that divorce came around, I didn't want to keep my married name. You see, I did one of those modern women kind of things, and I went with the hyphen. So I was Frau Armstrong something. You didn't really think I was going to tell you his name, did you? And all I knew after the divorce was I didn't want that something on my name anymore. I didn't want it on my identification. I didn't want to have to sign with it. I didn't want it in my life at all. But I was really nervous, simply out of lack of knowledge, simply out of ignorance. I was worried I was going to have to file all kinds of paperwork, maybe go through a lawyer again, maybe have to go before a judge. And then that is, of course, on top of, all the costs and the runaround stuff to change all the cards and paperwork and everything where my name was registered as that married name. Which is why I was, oh my God, I was so amazed and I was so happy to find out all I had to do was go down to the little local government office in this little village that I lived in. I remember walking in there, and first I saw one of the ladies that worked in this Rathaus, as it's called in German. And I was nervous. If I'm keeping it real with you all as I do, I wasn't in a good headspace. I didn't feel comfortable there. I was living essentially in my ex-husband's village. These were his folks. These were his friends. They knew each other their whole lives. Now I'm divorced, unemployed. All I knew was I wanted to change my name, get the hell out of there, and start new. So very timid, nervous, and a little bit broken, I walked into that house and I spoke to the lady and I explained to her my goal, that I had finalized my divorce recently and wished to put my name back to what it was, but that I had no idea how the process worked or where to begin. And she was pretty much like, well, you're in the right place. She took me back to an office where I met with a very friendly guy that worked in that office. I had to deal with him a few times for paperwork as a immigrant coming here. And if I recall correctly, it was done within 20 minutes. Like he just had to get the right form, we had to fill it out. I think I had to show him proof that I was divorced, but everybody knew. Everybody knows everything in small villages. God, I'm glad I got the hell out of there. Anyway, it was quick, easy, and painless. And I think I paid like around 35 euros. I'd say that's fair. I know I was afraid that it was going to be a lot worse, so that really amazed me. I had had enough stress up to that point, and that was kind of like a little gift. It was all over now. Time to start new. But yeah, those are the 5 things I picked out of a lot of things that were all new to me as an American in Germany going through a divorce. This system can be really complicated and difficult to navigate and understand, especially when it comes to the legal speak and government offices and the forms. So if you're out there and you're considering marrying a German and moving to Germany, divorce is probably the last thing on your mind. But if I can give you any advice, I highly recommend research a little bit. Knowledge is power. Well, now that we made it through all of that, who wants to see some pictures? Alright, just because you were a good little viewer and watched my video to the end, I thought I'd just share with you some pictures from my wedding day. This is one of my favorite. My dad made it over here to my wedding, stayed in Germany for a few weeks. He really liked it. He had a great time here. And I love this picture. He passed, unfortunately, a few years later. This is a good one. That's my friend Missy. She is also from Pennsylvania, came over for my wedding. I am queen of making ridiculous faces, even when dressed fancy. And here's me with some guy on that day leaving the Rathaus. I loved that dress. The skirt was like almost see-through. The back is open, which I liked because I have back tattoos and it showed off my tattoos. And it's like, you can't really see it in this picture, but a very light purple color. So yeah. Thanks for watching my video and listening to my bitter rambling. Until I come at you again, I do hope that you're taking care of yourself.